First of all, what even is the light body? The light body has to do with energies of two kinds primarily. So words fail, of course, as I've said, but we're going to do the best we can. Energy of two kinds in particular. One, the energy of our breath, our prana, our life force energy that animates our body throughout the course of our life. When our breath is gone, our body dies. Breath is animating, fueling, and energizing our body. Unfortunately, we have developed tendencies culturally and then physically in our own system of being where we manage our experience of life by holding our breath. And then we feel under resourced. We might feel like our flow of energy is off, like holding the breath and being mental dominant has created a condition of disembodiment that has some severe symptoms. I think of it as being overwhelmed in the mind and underwhelmed absolutely everywhere else. And that is a very hard condition to live in and to be in. So we're addressing that. We're talking about the light body as breath, the energy that's moving through the body. Are we breathing? It is that simple in some ways. Are we breathing? Are we letting life in? Are we letting life out? Or are we not letting it in and then hanging on and gripping to it coming out? How we're breathing is how we're living. And you don't have to take my word for it. In your own breath experiences, you've seen this to be true. How we are breathing is how we are living. The other kind of light is our presence, our present awareness. So let's say this. When you're with somebody and they are not present, they are phoning it in, they are a million miles away, that is an energy to it. It is the energy of vacancy. The lack of presence can be felt. Likewise, if you are with someone and they're right there with you, they're present to you, their awareness is in their body, interacting with the energy of your body, you feel their presence. It is like consolation, it is connection, it is velvety. It's my word of the day, by the way, velvety. So the energy of presence exists. Not only does it exist, it has a dramatic and powerful effect on our life. So the energy of presence and the energy of breath in our body, those two things, energy of presence and energy of breath, equal radiance. In our first segment of teaching, we will talk about restoring the light body, restoring our energy, empowering ourselves to have a robust, healthy energy body, light body. So we have levity. So we have illumination in our being that will help us be intentional and empowered rather than the unconsciousness that sometimes has us feel very disempowered and very dense. So we're talking about that today. The second part of what we will be talking about is our ongoing belovedship with maintaining, engaging with, and living a life of that light, of that levity. So a couple of different segments. We will certainly prioritize some activities, some breathing, and some connection that you will have in your breakout rooms, and some exercises that are designed to connect you intimately, specifically, and right now to aspects of your experience living in the deep body that might have felt abandoned by you in order to survive. This isn't wrong, but it is kind of time to come home. And so that's the scope of what we'll be talking about today. So going into this first segment, which has to do with restoring the light body, it kind of has to do with the past. We have unprocessed emotional experiences that have patterning and an energy that are repressed living in our physiological body. This density is pop culturally referred to as baggage. Now, it has a weight to it, kind of weighs us down. So in the context of this class, it weighs down our light body, right? So it might kind of dull things, might damper things, might have us feeling weighed down. That physiologically held, unresolved emotional patterning has been accumulated in our life in times where something has happened that has overwhelmed us. Another way of looking at traumatic experiences as being overwhelmed without the capacity to process something that has happened. So the moment of this occurs in our life and we hold our breath. That is our way of getting to the other side of an experience that we do not know how to process. This is our body's way of protecting us, getting us to the other side of it. And then unfortunately, There are not a whole lot of ways laid out for us and commonly understood and practiced in our culture where we can then fully process that experience later on. In our breath work, there are a lot of other ways to get to and to free up and acknowledge and resolve our past unconscious, unresolved emotional patterns from our life. Breathwork has been the most powerful one that I have found. And I use it in all the other modalities that I practice as well. Breathwork is the center of it. So, sincerely practicing our breathing to help us fuel and then stimulate those repressions so they can come up and out energetically. Maybe we have a memory, a story, an association with what that was, an emotional release or discharge as well about what that was, not just the physiologically held pattern of the experience that we haven't processed, but the belief that was formed at that time. Yeah, that's not for me. Connecting in that way, vulnerability in that way, not safe. We might have that belief from a time that we were shut down, rejected, ignored, or whatever the response was that wasn't an accepting and loving response when we put ourselves out there. So now we do that less. And that belief is still there. So again, these are very unconscious beliefs, patternings, and energies that weigh down our energy body and our physical body. Our energy body, our emotional body, our physical body, all woven so closely together. So this accumulation of repression that we can store up in the body that are unprocessed over time. Now, part of how we can feel it in our life, but maybe not know it exactly because it's unconscious, acts like this. Say there's an unresolved situation from our past. Something happened and it is unresolved. How that might keep us from being present now and fully alive now is that it nags unconsciously. What was that happened? Why did that happen? How did that happen? Is it going to happen again? How does that happen? If it happened, then it will happen. The unresolved experience will nag at us unconsciously, and then we will be for sure operating more from survival mode than from thriving. We will for sure be in control mode rather than discovery mode if those unresolved emotional charges and beliefs remain uncovered and we remain withdrawing our awareness from living really fully embodied because it might seem like a dense and intense place down there. So part of this work truly is about relieving, revealing, acknowledging experiences from our past that have imprinted us and that remain unresolved. This is part of our work as we heal. Now, it's not linear. So we don't just take care of all the past baggage and then we're free to live our life free and clear from that point on. We do bits and pieces at a time because the body's intelligence is so vast. It knows that this piece here to process, this piece here to process is a more sustainable way to go. In restoring the light body, we are talking about cleansing, clearing, and connecting, bringing our awareness or light of our consciousness into our deeper experience, connecting, feeling a sense of deep presence in our being so that we can start to nourish the parts of the self that have been abandoned in that way and bring them back into the fold. So all of these words, cleansing, clearing, and connecting, for me, have this quality of they all kind of can add up to this thing. Integration. We talk about integration a lot, but for me, those three ingredients are really key. We want to bring the light of the consciousness in. We want to stimulate and release and accept and integrate those lost or disenfranchised parts of the self that we have made wrong and that have been kept held inside as baggage. And we want to free ourselves up to have a deeper connection with our sensational being. So stimulating repression through the breath, accepting the sensations that arise, acknowledging and learning how to companion with the self rather than just to judge or leave. So we are developing companionedness in our light body. So there are also practical things about this that are very direct, and I love this about it. The simplicity feels reliable to me. Light, illumination, energy in the body, processing, connecting, integrating. There is a sensational intelligence that we can feel right now. As we bring our presence into our body, we can feel for flow, vitality, and or we will also encounter density, stagnation, which, believe you me, has an emotional component as well. What part of your deep inner being has not been touched in a while? Because contraction, stress, and control, in order to survive, keep life or vitality, so awareness and breath, vitality out of the greater being of our body. What can we release or offer now so that the deeper breath can flow and penetrate and merge more fully with our body? One of the things that we come away from in our state of disembodiment is we lose touch with our full faculty. Navigating life from the ego dominance alone can be limiting, stressful, full of warnings and judgments about all the things that could go wrong. It's fear-based. But when we are living with a full team, we have our root, our gut, our instinct and intuition, the deep wealth of our lineage from epigenetics and our DNA. We have wisdom from beyond our mind. We have navigational voices to help us live richly, fully, and in a way that is guided. Now, I think of the ego dominance and disembodied state. You have likely heard me say this before, if you've been in my teachings, that from an evolutionary perspective, the prefrontal cortex is the very, very newest developed part of the human being. It is the youngest. It is the youngest. And it is rooted down through the neck into this vast system of ancient intelligence that is the heart's intelligence. You might know this from heart math or some other source, that the information coming up from the heart into the mind is the majority. Information coming from the brain down into the body is in a smaller percentage. So when we're up here in our mind segment of the wheel, again, mind, body, spirit, and a wheel, when we're up here in our mind all the time, that imbalance means that the youngest part of the self, like the toddler, is running the whole entire show, and it doesn't get to be supported by the older aspects of self. It also operates on a dichotomy. So the mind is like this or that, left and right, white and black. It thinks in code. And that has limitations as well. It has a great useful purpose, but it has limitations as well. Whereas the energy and intelligence of the heart is much more complex. It can hold paradox that the mind cannot. When we imagine that the leaves and branches of our mind are nourished by the root system of the heart, it can help us relax the brain and become more balanced. Let's take a nice deep breath. Yeah, and exhale with a little sigh or a wiggle. I forgot to read you a poem. This is a very short one, and it's from Lorian Roche, who did the Radiance Sutras. And since we're speaking about radiance today, and we've talked about density and intensity and baggage, we will now have a poem. Embrace each of your senses in turn, seeing as being touched by light, hearing as immersion in an ocean of sound, tasting as enlightening, smelling as knowing, touching as electrifying. Then leave all these behind, enter the spaciousness of the heart, intimate with the unknowable, feelable holiness of God. Now, I threw in just that little last bit because it felt unfinished, but that's the main event, is the radiance of our being is right there ready to hold us, while any other part of us that's feeling tender or in need can fall apart and be held by our greater essences.